Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Discovery, watching the stars through the main viewport. His ship had been exploring the far edges of known space for 3 months now. The mission was simple: map new star systems and look for anything interesting. So far, they had found mostly empty space and dead rocks floating around distant suns. "Captain, I'm picking up something strange," said Dr. Lisa Carter from her science station. She was the ship's chief science officer, and she had been studying space for 20 years. When Lisa said something was strange, Jake paid attention. "What kind of strange?" Jake asked, walking over to look at her screens. "Energy readings unlike anything in our databases. It's coming from that system over there." Lisa pointed to a cluster of stars about 2 light years away. "The energy signature is massive, sir. Whatever is happening over there is big." Jake looked at the readings. The numbers were indeed huge. Could it be natural? A solar flare or something? "No, sir, this is definitely artificial. And there's more than one source. I count at least 50 separate energy signatures, all moving in patterns." Commander Ryan Bell, the ship's tactical officer, looked up from his station. "Captain, those movement patterns look like ship formations, military formations." Jake felt his stomach tighten. Humanity had been alone in space for as long as they had been exploring it. The idea that other intelligent life existed was exciting. The idea that they might be watching a space battle was terrifying. "Set course for that system," Jake ordered. "But keep us at maximum sensor range. If there really is a battle going on, I don't want us getting caught in the middle of it." The Discovery's engines hummed to life, pushing the ship toward the unknown system. As they got closer, their sensors began picking up more details. Lisa's face grew pale as she read the data. "Captain, I'm reading massive explosions. Ships are being destroyed out there. This isn't just a battle, it's a slaughter." "How many ships?" Ryan asked. "Hundreds, maybe thousands. And they're not all the same type. I'm seeing at least 2 completely different technologies fighting each other." Jake ordered the ship to stop at the edge of the system. Through the main viewport, they could see flashes of light in the distance. Explosions, ships dying. Somewhere out there, beings were fighting and dying in a war that humans knew nothing about. "Sir," Lisa said quietly, "one group is losing badly. Their ships are smaller, and there are far fewer of them. At the current rate of loss, they'll be completely destroyed within hours." Jake watched the distant flashes of light. Each one represented a ship, probably with hundreds or thousands of beings aboard. He made a decision that would change everything. "Take us closer. But slowly, I want to know what's happening here." As the Discovery moved deeper into the system, their sensors picked up communication signals. Most were in languages the computer couldn't translate, but some came through clearly. The ship's communication system had been designed to work with any language it encountered, learning and adapting as it went. Suddenly, a new signal reached them. This one was different, weaker, desperate. "Unknown vessel," came a voice through the speakers. It was clearly not human, but the words were in English. "Please respond. We detected your approach. Are you reinforcements?" Jake looked at his crew. This was first contact with an alien species, and it was happening in the middle of a war zone. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the human vessel Discovery," Jake replied. "We are not part of this conflict. Who are you?" There was a pause. Then the voice came back, filled with what sounded like relief and desperation. "I am Ambassador Zeftai of the Kaleri people." "Captain Morrison, we are dying. Our entire civilization is being destroyed. The Vorthak have come to finish what they started 3 years ago." "The Vorthak?" Jake asked. "Conquerors. Destroyers. They have already killed 12 species in this part of the galaxy. We are the last survivors of an alliance that once numbered billions. They take our technology, our worlds, our lives. They leave nothing behind." Lisa was running scans on the battle, trying to understand what they were seeing. "Captain, the losing side has maybe 200 ships left. The winning side has over 3,000. It's not even close," the alien voice continued. "Captain Morrison, your species is unknown to us, which means you are unknown to the Vorthak as well. This gives you an advantage we no longer possess, the element of surprise. What are you asking? Jake said, though he was beginning to understand. We are asking for war, Captain. We are begging you to declare war on the Vorthic Empire. We will give you everything we have. Our ships, our technology, our knowledge. All we ask is that you help us save what remains of our people. Ryan checked his tactical screens. Captain, the alien ships that are losing, they're more advanced than us in some ways. Their energy shields are incredible, and their sensors are beyond anything we have. But their weapons are designed for defense, not attack. The winning side? Jake asked. Brutal but effective. Their ships are built for one thing, destroying other ships. No fancy technology, just raw destructive power. Ambassador's FTIS. Voice came through again, and this time Jake could hear the emotion clearly. Fear, desperation, and something else. Hope. Captain Morrison, I know what we are asking. We are asking you to enter a war that is not yours, against an enemy you have never seen, for people you have never met. But if the Vorthic are not stopped here, they will continue their expansion. Eventually they will find your homeworld. When that happens, you will face them alone, as we did. Jake looked around his bridge. His crew was watching him, waiting for his decision. Through the viewport, more flashes of light appeared as Kaleri ships died in the void. Ambassador's FTI, Jake said slowly. How long has this war been going on? The Vorthic began their expansion 15 years ago. They move slowly but completely. They take a system, strip it of all resources, then move to the next. They have never been defeated. They have never retreated. They do not negotiate. They do not show mercy. And you believe humans can make a difference? Captain, we have watched your ship approach. We have scanned your technology. You are less advanced than us in many ways, but your ship is built differently. It is built for war. Your people understand conflict in ways that we never did. We were builders, explorers, artists. The Vorthic taught us to fight, but by then it was too late. Jake closed his eyes for a moment. He thought about Earth, about the billions of humans who had no idea that aliens existed, let alone that a genocidal empire was expanding through the galaxy. He thought about his duty as a starship captain, his responsibility to his crew, and his species. When he opened his eyes, he looked directly at the communication screen. Ambassador Zeftai, on behalf of humanity, I accept your request. We will help you fight the Vorthic Empire. The bridge fell silent. Lisa stared at him in shock. Ryan's hand moved instinctively to his weapons controls. They had just committed their species to a galactic war. Captain, Zeftai's voice was barely a whisper, you do not understand what this means to us. You have given us hope when we had none. We understand exactly what this means, Jake replied. It means war. An ambassador, when humans go to war, we don't do it halfway. If you wanted mercy, you asked the wrong species. As if to punctuate his words, another Kaleri ship exploded in the distance, its light fading quickly in the cold of space. Send coordinates for a safe meeting point, Jake ordered. We need to get you and your people to safety while we contact Earth. This war just became humanity's problem. The Discovery turned away from the battle, carrying with it the knowledge. That would change everything. Behind them, the last free Kaleri ships followed, abandoning their homeworld to the conquerors. Humanity was about to learn that they were not alone in the universe, and the universe was about to learn what humans were capable of when someone asked them for war. The news reached Earth faster than anyone expected. Captain Jake Morrison sent his report through the quantum communication system, and within 6 hours, every major government on the planet knew that humanity was no longer alone in the universe. More importantly, they knew that aliens had asked humans to fight a war. President Alex Turner sat in the emergency meeting room, deep beneath the White House. Around the table were the leaders of Earth's major nations, all connected through secure video links. The room was silent as they finished reading Morrison's report. So let me understand this correctly, said the Chinese premier. Aliens are real. They're losing a war against other aliens, and Captain Morrison promised we would help them fight. That's correct. Admiral Kate Rodriguez said. She was the head of Earth's combined space fleet, all 37 ships. The Kaleri have provided us with technical data about both their technology and their enemies. Our scientists are analyzing it now. President Turner rubbed his temples. Admiral, in your professional opinion, what are we looking at here? A fight we can't win with what we have now, sir. The Vorthak Empire has thousands of ships. We have 37. They've been fighting wars for 15 years. We've never fought anyone except ourselves. But Morrison committed us, the British Prime Minister pointed out. We can't back down now without looking weak to both sides. There's more to consider, Admiral Rodriguez continued. The Kaleri data shows that the Vorthak are expanding in our direction. Even if we stayed out of this war, they would reach Earth eventually. Maybe in 10 years, maybe 20. But they would come. President Turner stood up and walked to the window. Even though they were underground, he could see a screen showing the surface. Normal people going about their normal lives, not knowing that everything was about to change. How long do we have? He asked. The Kaleri survivors are heading to a safe location 3 days from here. Captain Morrison is escorting them. We need to make a decision before they arrive. The room fell quiet again. Then the Russian president spoke up. What do our military experts say about fighting these Vorthak? Admiral Rodriguez pulled up a holographic display. Dr. Ben Clark from our Weapons Development Division has been studying the Kaleri data. Ben, tell them what you found. Dr. Clark's face appeared on the screen. He looked tired but excited. The situation is both worse and better than we thought, he said. The Vorthak are definitely more advanced than us in terms of raw technology. Their ships are bigger, their weapons are more powerful, and their shields are stronger. That's the worst part, President Turner said. What's the better part? They're not creative, Dr. Clark continued. Everything we've seen shows that they use the same tactics over and over. They rely on superior technology and numbers to win. They've never had to adapt because they've never faced real resistance. And the species they've conquered were all peaceful, Admiral Rodriguez added. The Kaleri and their allies were explorers, scientists, artists. They built beautiful cities and amazing technology, but they didn't build weapons. When the war started, they tried to fight with mining lasers and survey ships. The German Chancellor leaned forward. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting that we're different, Dr. Clark said. Humans have been fighting wars for thousands of years. We know how to take peaceful technology and turn it into weapons. We know how to fight dirty when we have to. President Turner returned to his seat. Show me the numbers. How many people are we talking about saving? The Kaleri survivors number about 1 million, Admiral Rodriguez said. But that represents the last survivors of 12 different species. Before the war started, the Alliance had over 50 billion people. The weight of that number settled on everyone in the room. 50 billion people, dead, entire civilizations wiped out. There's something else, Dr. Clark said. The Kaleri have offered to share all their technology with us. Their power systems are decades ahead of ours. Their sensors, their shields, their manufacturing techniques. If we combine their technology with our weapons knowledge, we might have a chance. Admiral Rodriguez finished. President Turner looked around the room at the faces of Earth's leaders. I need to know if we're all in agreement on this. Because once we commit, there's no going back. The Vorthak don't take prisoners. They don't negotiate. This will be a fight to the death. One by one, each leader agreed. The vote was unanimous, 3. Days later, the Kaleri survivors arrived at Earth. Colonel Amy Foster led the first human team to board their ships. What she found shocked her. The Kaleri ships were beautiful. The walls curved like works of art, and everything was designed with grace and elegance. But they were also falling apart. Scorch marks covered the hulls. Emergency repairs were visible everywhere. The aliens themselves looked exhausted and afraid. Ambassador Zeftai met Colonel Foster in what had once been an elegant meeting room. Now it was crowded with refugees from a dozen different species. Some looked almost human. Others were completely alien. All of them watched the humans with hope and fear. "Colonel Foster," Zeftai said, "we cannot thank your species enough for agreeing to help us." "Don't thank us yet," Amy replied. "We haven't won anything. Right now, we're just trying to figure out how to fight these Vorthik without getting everyone killed." Zeftai showed her to the ship's data center. "Everything we know about the Vorthik is here. Their ship designs, their weapons, their tactics, their expansion patterns. We have also prepared complete technical specifications for all our technology." Amy looked at the massive amount of data. It would take months to go through it all. "This is incredible. Why are you giving us everything?" "Because we have nothing left to lose," Zeftai said simply. "The Vorthek took our worlds, our people, our future. All we have left is revenge. If your species can give us that, then our technology is a small price to pay." Back on Earth, Dr. Clark and his team were working around the clock. The first prototype human-Kaleri hybrid ship was already under construction. It would combine Kaleri energy shields and sensors with human armor and weapons. "The difference in philosophy is amazing," Dr. Clark explained to Admiral Rodriguez during one of their daily briefings. "The Kaleri built their ships to explore and discover. Everything is designed to be efficient and beautiful. The Vorthek built their ships to destroy. Everything is designed to cause maximum damage. And us?" Admiral Rodriguez asked. "We build our ships to win. We don't care if they're pretty, and we don't care if they're cruel. We care about coming home alive." The first test of human-Kaleri cooperation came when they analyzed Vorthik battle tactics. The aliens always used the same strategy: approach in massive formation, overwhelm the enemy with superior firepower, and destroy everything that moved. "They've never faced an enemy that could adapt," Colonel Foster observed. "Every species they fought used the same defensive tactics until they were wiped out." "What would happen if someone used different tactics?" Admiral Rodriguez asked. "We're about to find out," Dr. Clark said with a grim smile. Within a month, Earth had transformed into a war production center. Every nation contributed ships, weapons, and personnel. Civilian factories were converted to military production. Scientists who had been working on peaceful projects were reassigned to weapons development. The Kaleri were amazed by the speed of human mobilization. Ambassador Zeftai watched from the observation deck as human workers assembled warships in orbit around Earth. "Your species adapts so quickly," he said to Colonel Foster. "It took us 3 years to build our first warship after the Vorthek attacked. You have built 50 in 1 month." "We've had practice," Amy replied. "Humans have been fighting wars since we learned to pick up sticks. The only difference now is that we're fighting in space instead of on the ground." The Kaleri way was to avoid conflict, to find peaceful solutions to every problem, Zeftai continued. "Perhaps that is why we lost." Amy looked at the alien diplomat. His people had been artists and philosophers. They had built a civilization based on beauty and knowledge. The Vorthak had destroyed it all in a matter of years. "There's nothing wrong with being peaceful," she said. "But when someone comes to destroy everything you love, you have to be willing to fight back. And when humans fight back, we don't do it halfway." The first human Kaleri fleet was ready within 6 weeks. 50 human ships equipped with Kaleri technology, escorted by the remaining Kaleri vessels. Admiral Rodriguez commanded the fleet from the bridge of the UES Retribution, a massive battleship that represented the best of both species' technology. As the fleet prepared to leave Earth's solar system, President Turner sent a final message to Admiral Rodriguez. "Admiral, you carry with you the hopes of 2 species and the memory of 12 that have already fallen. The Kaleri asked us for war. Give them the kind of war that only humans know how to fight." The fleet jumped to hyperspace, leaving Earth behind. They were heading toward their first encounter with the Vorthik Empire, carrying weapons and tactics that the galaxy had never seen before. Behind them, Earth continued its preparations for total war. In shipyards around the planet, more vessels were under construction. In laboratories, scientists worked to turn Kaleri technology into weapons of unprecedented power. The Vorthak had spent 15 years conquering a peaceful galaxy. The human Kaleri fleet dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Centro system. Admiral Kate Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the UES Retribution, watching the tactical displays as her sensors swept the area. What they found made her smile. Grimly, 50 Vorthek ships, reported Lieutenant Commander Steve Grant from the destroyer UES Vengeance. They're in standard formation, approaching the fourth planet. Looks like they're setting up to strip mine it. Any signs they've detected us? Admiral Rodriguez asked. Not yet, ma'am. We're at the edge of their sensor range, just like the Kaleri predicted. Rodriguez turned to Ambassador Zeftai, who stood beside her on the bridge. The alien looked nervous, which was understandable. This would be the first time anyone had deliberately attacked the Vorthok in over 3 years. Ambassador, are you certain about their communication frequencies? Yes, Admiral. All Vorthok fleets use the same channels. They see no need for security since no one has ever been brave enough to intercept their messages. That overconfidence is about to cost them, Rodriguez said. She opened the fleet-wide communication channel. All ships, this is Admiral Rodriguez. Today we find out if humans and Kaleri can fight together. Remember your training, trust your equipment, and show these Vorthek what happens when they pick on species that can't fight back. The fleet began moving toward the Vorthek formation. 50 human ships, 20 surviving Kaleri vessels, all equipped with the best technology both species could provide. The Kaleri ships had been refitted with human weapons, while the human ships carried Kaleri shields and sensors. It took 30 minutes for the Vorthok to notice them approaching. When they did, their reaction was exactly what the humans had expected. A communication signal came through on the standard Vorthok frequency. The voice was harsh and mechanical, translated by the ship's computers. Unknown vessels, you are entering Vorthok territory. Identify yourselves and state your purpose. Rodriguez nodded to Lieutenant Dan Wright at the communications station. Put me through to them, full broadcast. This is Admiral Kate Rodriguez of the human fleet. We're here to destroy you. There was a pause. Then the Vorthok voice returned, and the humans could hear what sounded like amusement. Humans, we have heard of your species from Kaleri prisoners. You are primitive creatures from a small world. Surrender now, and we will allow you to serve as workers rather than face extinction. Rodriguez looked at her crew. Every human on the bridge was smiling. They had expected this reaction. Counter-offer, Rodriguez replied. Leave this system immediately, and we'll let half of you escape alive. The response was immediate. The Vorthok fleet began accelerating toward them, weapons charging. Their formation was perfect, disciplined, exactly what the Kaleri had described. 50 ships in a massive wedge, designed to overwhelm any enemy with concentrated firepower. All ships, execute Alpha Protocol, Rodriguez ordered. What happened? Next would be talked about in military academies for centuries. Instead of meeting the Vorthok charge head-on, the human fleet scattered. Ships broke formation and spread out in all directions, moving at maximum speed. To the Vorthok, it must have looked like the humans were running away in panic. The Vorthok fleet maintained their wedge formation, chasing after what they thought was a fleeing enemy. Their communications, intercepted by human sensors, were full of confidence and contempt. Cowards run like all the others, one Vorthok commander reported. We will destroy them one by one. But the humans weren't running. They were setting a trap. Commander Steve Grant watched his tactical display as his destroyer curved around behind the Vorthok formation. The enemy ships were all focused forward, chasing the main human fleet. None of them were watching their rear. This is Vengeance, Grant reported. I'm in position. Confirmed, Vengeance, came Admiral Rodriguez's voice. Begin the lesson. Grant's ship accelerated to maximum speed, heading straight for the rear of the Vorthok formation. The destroyer's engines were pushed beyond their normal limits, but the Kaleri power systems could handle it. As the ship approached the enemy, Grant armed his secret weapon. The UES Vengeance didn't fire its guns at the Vorthok ships. Instead, it ejected its entire nuclear fuel supply in a series of containers, each one set to detonate on impact. The containers spread out in a wide pattern, invisible to Vorthok sensors until it was too late. The first nuclear explosion took out 3 Vorthak ships instantly. The second destroyed 2 more. By the time the enemy fleet realized what was happening, 8 of their vessels were gone. What weapon is this? Came the confused Vorthak communications. Our sensors detected no missile launch. Admiral Rodriguez answered personally. That's called improvisation. We're just getting started. The Vorthak fleet tried to turn and engage the destroyer, but the humans had planned for that too. As soon as the enemy began to pivot, the scattered human ships converged from all directions. Unlike the Vorthak, who relied on their energy weapons, the humans used kinetic projectiles. Chunks of metal accelerated to incredible speeds by magnetic launchers. The projectiles were too small and fast for Vorthak sensors to track, but they hit like bombs when they struck enemy hulls. Lieutenant Sarah Kim, commanding the frigate UES Falcon, led her squadron in a coordinated attack on the Vorthak left flank. Her ships moved in unpredictable patterns, firing their kinetic guns in carefully timed volleys. Remember, she told her pilots, don't try to destroy them with one shot. Hit them a dozen times in the same spot. Break through their armor gradually. The tactic worked perfectly. Vorthak shields were designed to absorb energy weapons, but they had trouble with solid projectiles. The repeated impacts in the same locations began punching holes through enemy hulls. But the most shocking moment came when Captain Bob Harris of the heavy cruiser used Thunder decided his ship was too damaged to continue fighting. Instead of retreating, he did something no one in galactic history had ever done before. "This is Thunder," Harris reported calmly. "My engines are dead and my weapons are offline. I'm going to ram the enemy flagship." "Captain Harris, belay that order," Admiral Rodriguez said. "You can still evacuate your crew." "Negative, Admiral. My crew and I discussed this. We volunteered for this mission knowing we might not come home. Time to make it count." The UES Thunder. Its hull cracked and bleeding atmosphere accelerated toward the largest Vorthak ship. The enemy vessel tried to destroy the approaching cruiser, but Harris had shut down all non-essential systems and routed everything to the engines and armor. The collision was spectacular. The Thunder's reinforced bow, designed with Calleri materials, punched through the Vorthak flagship's hull like a spear. Both ships exploded in a ball of fire that lit up the entire battlefield. The Vorthak fleet, which had started the battle with 50 ships and complete confidence, suddenly found themselves facing an enemy unlike anything they had ever encountered. These humans didn't fight like the peaceful species the Vorthak had conquered. They didn't retreat when faced with superior numbers. They didn't surrender when their ships were damaged. Instead, they turned their own ships into weapons. They used their fuel as bombs. They attacked from directions that should have been impossible. Most disturbing of all, they seemed perfectly willing to die as long as they took enemies with them. "Unknown human fleet," came a new Vorthak transmission. "We propose a ceasefire to discuss terms." Admiral Rodriguez's response was immediate. "The only terms we're interested in are your complete surrender. That is unacceptable. We outnumber you 2-1. "You outnumbered us 2-1 when this fight started," Rodriguez replied. "Now it's about even. Want to see what the odds look like in another hour?" The Vorthak tried to regroup, but the humans gave them no time. Ship after ship attacked from unexpected angles. Human crews boarded disabled Vorthak vessels, capturing alien technology and prisoners. Most shocking of all, they interrogated the prisoners during the battle, using the information immediately to target weak points on other enemy ships. Captain Linda Price led a boarding party onto a damaged Vorthak cruiser. Her Marines fought through the alien corridors with brutal efficiency. When they captured the ship's commander, Price didn't waste time. "Where are your supply depots?" she demanded, holding a pistol to the alien's head. "I will tell you nothing, primitive creature." Price smiled coldly. "That's fine. My ship's computers are downloading your navigation database right now. We don't need you to talk. We just need you to die slowly enough for your friends to hear you screaming over the radio." The psychological effect was devastating. The Vorthak had conquered through fear and superior technology. They had never faced an enemy that was willing to be more brutal than they were. The battle ended 6 hours after it began. Of the 50 Vorthak ships, only 12 escaped. The human fleet had lost 8 vessels, but they had accomplished something unprecedented in galactic history. They had defeated a Vorthak fleet in open combat. As the surviving enemy ships fled into hyperspace, Admiral Rodriguez opened a channel to the entire galaxy on the Vorthak emergency frequency. "This is Admiral Kate Rodriguez of the human fleet. Today, the Vorthak Empire learned something new. They learned that there are species in this galaxy who fight back. They learned that some of us don't surrender when faced with superior numbers." 6 months after the victory at Centros, Earth looked like a completely different planet. Every major city had been transformed into a military production center. Factories that once made cars now built starship engines. Plants that manufactured computers now produced targeting systems. The entire human race had focused on one goal: building the largest war fleet in galactic history. Admiral Paul Henderson stood on the bridge of the UES Retribution, watching construction crews work on the latest batch of warships. His fleet had grown from 70 ships to over 400 in just half a year. Each new vessel combined human weapons technology with Kalari engineering, creating ships that were more powerful than anything either species had built alone. "Admiral," reported Captain Helen Moore from the science station, "we've received the latest intelligence reports from our reconnaissance teams. The Vorthak are definitely changing their tactics." "Show me," Henderson ordered. The main screen displayed a star map showing recent Vorthak movements. Instead of their usual slow, methodical advance, the enemy fleets were moving faster and in smaller groups. They were also avoiding systems where human ships had been spotted. "They're scared," observed Colonel Rick Thompson, the fleet's ground assault commander. "After Centros, they know they can't just overwhelm us with numbers anymore." Dr. Moore pulled up detailed scans of captured Vorthak technology. "We've learned a lot from the ships we captured. The Vorthak are silicon-based life forms with multiple redundant organs. That's why our standard weapons have trouble killing them quickly. But we found 2 major weaknesses." "Go on," Henderson said. "First, they can't survive in high-radiation environments. Their silicon-based biology breaks down when exposed to certain types of radiation. Second, their nervous systems operate on very specific electromagnetic frequencies. If we can disrupt those frequencies, we can cause them pain without killing them," Henderson finished. "Interesting. What are you thinking?" Dr. Moore smiled grimly. "I'm thinking we can turn their own bodies into weapons against them." 3 weeks later, the first test of humanity's new weapons took place above the planet Zarian 7. The world had once been home to the Veltar, an artistic species known for their beautiful crystal sculptures. The Vorthak had killed them all and turned their cities into mining operations. Major Rick Thompson led the assault from the heavy cruiser UES Hammer. His target was the main Vorthak base, built inside what had once been the Veltar capital city. Intelligence reports showed that over 10,000 Vorthak soldiers were stationed there, along with their mining equipment and supply depots. "This is different from space combat," Thompson told his assault team as they prepared to land. "Down there, we're fighting on their terms, but we have some new tools that should even the odds." The first wave of human ships didn't attack the Vorthak base directly. Instead, they targeted the planet's 3 moons. Using powerful explosives, they cracked the moon's surfaces and sent millions of tons of radioactive material raining down on the planet below. The effect was immediate. Vorthak soldiers caught in the radioactive dust began dying within minutes. Their silicon-based bodies couldn't process the radiation, and they collapsed as their organs shut down one by one. But the real surprise came when the human ground forces finally landed. Instead of carrying traditional weapons, they were equipped with something new: electromagnetic pulse generators that Dr. Moore had designed specifically to target Vorthak nervous systems. Sergeant Matt Davis was the first human to test the new weapon in combat. He cornered a group of Vorthek soldiers in what had once been a Veltar art gallery. The aliens were huge, standing nearly 8 feet tall with thick armored skin and multiple arms. Their weapons could punch holes through solid steel, but when Davis activated his pulse generator, the mighty Vorthek warriors collapsed to the ground, writhing in agony. The electromagnetic pulses disrupted their nervous systems, causing excruciating pain that made it impossible for them to fight back. Target neutralized, Davis reported. The pulse weapon works perfectly. They're alive but completely helpless. The battle for Zarian 7 lasted only 6 hours. By the end, the entire Vorthek garrison had been eliminated or captured. Not a single human soldier was killed, and only 12 were wounded. It was the most one-sided ground victory in the war so far, but as Thompson walked through the captured base, he made a discovery that changed everything. In the center of the facility, the Vorthek had built their command center inside what had once been a Veltar school. The walls were still covered with children's artwork, painted by young aliens who had been dead for 3 years. "Look at this," Thompson said to Captain Sue Davis, his second-in-command. He pointed to a drawing of what looked like a family of crystal beings holding hands under a bright sun. The artist's name was written in the corner in flowing alien script. "They were just kids," Davis said quietly. "The Vorthek killed children to build their base here." Thompson picked up a small toy from the floor, a crystal figure that might have been a Veltar doll. His hands were shaking with anger. "Sue, send a message to Admiral Henderson. Tell him we need to change our rules of engagement." "What do you mean, sir?" Thompson looked around the ruined classroom at the evidence of a genocide that had destroyed an entire civilization. "I mean, we're not taking prisoners anymore, not after this?" The message that went out from Zarian 7 reached every human ship in the fleet. Along with Thompson's report, he included images of the destroyed Veltar cities, the murdered families. The children's artwork covered in alien blood. Admiral Henderson read the report while standing in his command center. Around him, his staff watched as their commanding officer's face grew harder with each page. "Dr. Moore," Henderson said when he finished reading, "I want you to accelerate development of all our weapons programs. I don't care about international treaties or rules of war anymore. These creatures have forfeited any right to mercy." "Sir, what about the electromagnetic pulse weapons?" "The tests on Zarian 7 showed they cause extreme pain but don't kill." Henderson looked at the images from the Veltar school one more time. "Dr. Moore, I want you to increase the power settings until they do kill, and I want you to make it slow." The war began to change after Zarian 7. Human forces stopped offering surrender terms to Vorthek fleets. Captured enemy soldiers were interrogated for information, then executed. Most disturbing of all, humans began using psychological warfare. On a scale the galaxy had never seen. Captain Gary Wilson commanded the destroyer UES Fury during the attack on the Vorthak supply depot at Kepler Station. Instead of simply destroying the facility, his forces captured it and turned it into a trap. They reprogrammed the station's communication systems to broadcast Vorthek distress calls across multiple star systems. When enemy rescue fleets arrived, they found what appeared to be a damaged station requesting help, but as the Vorthek ships docked with the station, human forces hidden inside attacked. The enemy crews were captured alive and forced to send false reports back to their commanders. REPORTI, NG that the station was secure and requesting more ships. Over the course of 2 weeks, Wilson's trap destroyed 17 Vorthek fleets. The psychological effect on the enemy was devastating. They could no longer trust their own communication systems or rescue protocols. "The beautiful thing about fighting an enemy this arrogant," Wilson explained to his crew, "is that they never expect US to be smarter than they are. They keep falling for the same tricks because they can't believe primitive humans could outsmart them." Meanwhile, Earth's production capabilities continued to expand. The planet now had over 200 orbital shipyards, each one protected by massive defensive platforms. New ships rolled off the assembly lines every day. carrying weapons that became more sophisticated with each design iteration. Dr. Helen Moore had established the Xenobiology Warfare Division, a research department dedicated to finding new ways to kill or disable alien species. Her laboratories worked around the clock, developing biological weapons, chemical agents, and radiation bombs specifically designed to target non-human physiology. The Vorthak made a critical error, she explained during a briefing to military commanders. They showed us what they were capable of. They demonstrated their willingness to commit genocide. Now we know exactly what we're fighting against, and we can respond appropriately. Ambassador Zeftai attended these briefings as a representative of the surviving Kaleri. The gentle alien had watched his human allies transform from reluctant warriors into something far more frightening than the Vorthak had ever been. Admiral Henderson, Zeftai said after one particularly disturbing weapons demonstration, "My people are grateful for your help, but we are also concerned. These new weapons, these tactics, they are becoming very brutal." Henderson looked at the alien diplomat. "Ambassador, your people asked us to fight a war against creatures who murder children for convenience. Did you expect us to be gentle about it? We expected you to be effective. We did not expect you to become worse than our enemies." Henderson picked up a data pad showing casualty reports from the latest battles. "In the 6 months since Centros, we've destroyed over 300 Vorthak ships and liberated 7 star systems. We've saved approximately 50 million civilian lives from various species." 2 years after humanity first entered the Galactic War, Admiral Kate Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the massive battleship Use Vengeance, watching the largest fleet in human history prepare for its final mission. Around her, over 800 human ships waited in perfect formation. Allied vessels from 6 different liberated species brought the total force to nearly 1,000 ships. The target was simple: the Vorthak homeworld. "Admiral," reported Captain Greg Lewis from the tactical station, "we're receiving the final intelligence reports from our scout ships. The enemy has assembled their entire remaining fleet around their homeworld, 5,000 ships in defensive formation." Rodriguez studied the tactical displays. The Vorthak had pulled every ship from across their empire to defend their home system. It would be the largest space battle in galactic history. "Any word from the civilian evacuation ships?" she asked. "All non-combatant species have been moved to safe systems," confirmed Colonel Chris Turner from the communications station. "The Kaleri, the liberated Mandari, the Zelfin survivors, they're all safely away from the battle zone." Ambassador Zeftai approached the command station. The Kaleri diplomat looked older than when Rodriguez had first met him. 2 years of war had aged everyone, but the gentle alien had seen his people's dream of revenge finally within reach. "Admiral," Zeftai said quietly, "my people wanted me to express our gratitude one final time. Whatever happens today, you have given us something we thought we had lost forever: justice." Rodriguez looked at the alien who had started this entire war with a simple plea for help. "Ambassador, your people didn't ask us to give you justice. You asked us to give you war. Today we finish what the Vorthak started." The fleet began moving toward the Vorthak home system. As they approached, enemy communications filled the radio channels. The aliens were broadcasting on all frequencies, trying to coordinate their massive defensive fleet. "Human fleet," came a transmission from the Vorthak High Command. "You approach our sacred homeworld with an inferior force. We outnumber you 5 to 1. Withdraw now, and we will grant you a swift death instead of the torture you deserve." Rodriguez activated the fleet-wide communication system. Her voice reached every ship in the human fleet and every member of the Allied forces. "All ships, this is Admiral Rodriguez. 2 years ago, the Vorthak Empire controlled half the galaxy. They had destroyed 12 civilizations and murdered over 50 billion innocent people. Today, they are trapped in their home system like rats in a corner." She paused, looking at the tactical display showing the enemy fleet. "The Vorthak asked us for war when they started their campaign of genocide. They begged for war when they invaded peaceful systems. They demanded war when they murdered children and turned schools into military bases. We are humans, we answered their call. The human fleet spread out as it entered the system, taking positions around the massive Vorthik defensive formation. The enemy ships were arranged in concentric circles around their homeworld, creating layers of overlapping firepower that should have been impossible to penetrate. "Admiral," reported Dr. Helen Moore from the science station, "I'm detecting massive energy readings from the planet's surface. They've turned their entire world into a weapon." "Explain," Rodriguez ordered. "Every major city has been converted into a planetary defense cannon. They can fire energy beams powerful enough to destroy our largest ships. The entire planet is one big fortress," Rodriguez smiled grimly. "Dr. Moore, are our special weapons ready?" "All systems are operational, Admiral. The atmospheric processors are loaded and ready to deploy." What happened next would be remembered as the most controversial moment in human military history. Instead of attacking the Vorthik fleet directly, the human ships began dropping strange devices toward the planet's atmosphere. "What are those?" demanded the Vorthik fleet commander over the radio. "What weapons are you deploying?" Rodriguez answered personally. "Those aren't weapons, they're atmospheric processors. We're changing the chemical composition of your planet's air." The devices activated as they fell through the atmosphere, releasing clouds of engineered chemicals that began reacting with the planet's natural gases. Within minutes, the entire atmosphere began changing color, shifting from the normal blue-green of Vorthik air to a sickly yellow-orange. "You're poisoning our world," came the panicked alien transmission. "We're making it uninhabitable for your species," Rodriguez corrected. "The new atmospheric mixture will kill any Vorthik who breathes. But it won't harm the planet itself. In a few hundred years, other species can live there safely." The psychological effect on the Vorthak fleet was immediate. Knowing that their homeworld was slowly being poisoned drove many ship commanders into desperate attacks. They broke formation and charged the human fleet in uncoordinated waves. Captain Gary Wilson, commanding the destroyer UES Thunder, met the first wave with a tactic that had become standard for human forces. Instead of trying to match the enemy's firepower, his ships used their superior speed and maneuverability to avoid direct confrontation. "All ships, execute Swarm Protocol 7, Wilson ordered. The human destroyers scattered in all directions, drawing the charging Vorthak ships away from their defensive positions. As the enemy vessels pursued individual human ships, they found themselves isolated and surrounded. Lieutenant Sarah Kim, piloting the fighter UES Wasp, led her squadron in attacks on the scattered Vorthak vessels. The small human fighters were too fast for the enemy's heavy weapons to track, but their precision-guided missiles could punch through Vorthak armor with devastating effect. "This is Wasp Squadron," Kim reported. "We're picking them apart piece by piece. They can't hit us, but we're cutting them to ribbons." But the real shock came when the Vorthak realized that humans had been preparing for this battle for months. Hidden throughout the outer system were automated weapon platforms that had been secretly deployed by advance teams. As the Vorthak fleet spread out to chase human ships, they triggered the hidden weapons. Massive kinetic projectiles, accelerated to incredible speeds by magnetic launchers, began slamming into enemy vessels from unexpected directions. "Impossible," came the Vorthak fleet commander's voice. "How did you place weapons throughout our home system without our knowledge?" Admiral Rodriguez answered while watching another enemy ship explode on her tactical display. "We've been hunting your species for 2 years. Did you really think we hadn't been planning this moment since the war began?" The battle continued for 6 days and nights without pause. Human ships fought in continuous rotation, with fresh crews replacing tired ones without ever stopping the attack. The Vorthak, who had expected a single decisive engagement, found themselves facing an enemy that never slept, never retreated, and never showed mercy. On the 4th day, Captain Tom Mitchell led a boarding party onto the Vorthak command ship. His Marines fought through the alien corridors with the brutal efficiency they had learned in 2 years of war. When they reached the bridge, they found the Vorthak High Commander trying to destroy his ship's computer systems rather than let them fall into human hands. "Stop," Mitchell ordered, pointing his weapon at the alien leader. "You're coming with us." The Vorthek commander was massive, nearly 9 feet tall with thick armored skin. But Mitchell's electromagnetic pulse weapon dropped the creature to his knees in seconds, his nervous system overwhelmed with artificial pain. "Your empire is finished," Mitchell told the writhing alien. "Your homeworld is dying. Your fleets are destroyed. The only question now is whether you want to die quickly or slowly. We die. We offer surrender," the commander gasped through his pain. "We will serve your species as we forced others to serve us." Mitchell looked down at the creature who had ordered the deaths of billions of innocent people. "You still don't understand, do you? This isn't conquest, this is extermination." By the 6th day, the Vorthek fleet was completely destroyed. 5,000 ships reduced to floating debris. The planet below was already showing signs of atmospheric poisoning, its cities falling silent as the modified air spread across the surface. Admiral Rodriguez stood on her bridge, watching the last Vorthek stronghold fall to human assault teams. Around her, the command crew worked quietly, processing the final reports from the battle. "Admiral," reported Colonel Turner, "we're receiving a transmission from Earth. President Turner wants to speak with you." The president's face appeared on the main screen. He looked tired but relieved. "Admiral Rodriguez, on behalf of the entire human race, I want to say well done. The war is over. Come home." Rodriguez looked around at her crew, then at Ambassador Zeftai. The Kaleri diplomat was crying tears of joy and sorrow, watching the destruction of the empire that had killed his people. "Mr. President," Rodriguez replied, "mission accomplished. The Vorthek Empire no longer exists." She turned to address her fleet one final time. "All ships, this is Admiral Rodriguez. 2 years ago, desperate aliens asked humanity for war. They begged us to fight an enemy that had conquered half the galaxy. Today, that enemy is extinct. We answered their plea for war, and we answered it without mercy." The camera slowly panned across the debris field that had once been the mightiest fleet in galactic history. Memorial beacons marked the locations where entire civilizations had been wiped out by Vorthek expansion.